Hello, Potato, and welcome to Weekend Magic for July the 23rd, 2022. And as you can see, I am joined today by Peter Pan's Flight Minnie Mouse from Minnie Mouse, the Main Attraction. Came out in 2020. I think by this point in the year, we were getting a little mixed up in our releases, and they certainly weren't easy to get. But she's here, of course, because this week we saw them release the Mickey Mouse, the Main Attraction collection for Peter Pan's Flight. And I really honestly thought it was not going to get here in time for this week's video. I kind of thought I was going to go through some, I have some things that have just been sitting around for a while I've never done videos on that we would do instead. But to my utter amazement, ShopDisney did get it here in time for me to do this video, so we're going to take a look at it. So of course, we have Minnie here, and we'll do Mickey as the capstone of our collection. We did not get the backpack this time. Didn't mean to, didn't get it. No backpack. So we'll start small as we usually do with the Mickey Mouse Main Attractions, and then work our way up to her plush partner. So let's go down there and look at the first item, which is, as always, the pin. MMA June Peter Pan LR, I believe, limited release. And it is collection 6 of 12, or rather, series 6 of 12. We are halfway through the set, and as they have done with this entire series, they've placed a label over the front of the pin so you can't actually see it without taking it out of the wrapper. But there we go. And it's a very dapper, maybe a little dandy-ish looking Peter Pan. We've got, I don't know, it's not really a Peter Pan hat, isn't it? It's kind of maybe a fedora, probably a trilby. We'll probably be able to tell better when we look at the actual plush what that's supposed to be. But it's got a little ruff here sticking out the front of his jacket. Definitely a dandy little fellow. And of course, double pin back. We've got words, but we will read those off of the key because I think they're going to be easier to read that way. Although maybe not, because the light always reflects really badly off the wrapper of that. So I don't know if that's easier for you to read or not, but I mean, I'm reading it, so do you need to read it? I don't know. Some people like to, I leave the captions on my TV. But I believe as of yesterday, this was still available on the site. I think everything except for the backpack and the key were still available, again, as of yesterday. It says Peter Pan's Flight on it. And yeah, it's another perfectly competent pin in the collection. I'm not sure how I feel about that hat. We will definitely have to see what I think when we look at the plush. Plush is still all wrapped up, haven't really even looked at it. But let's move on. Let's move up in scale a little bit to the key. Yep, we have part 6 in our collection of Mickey Mouse, the Main Attraction. Big, chunky metal keys in their big, chunky plastic boxes. And my wife said she thinks this is like the best one yet. And I don't know if necessarily I'd go there. But it's very nice. It's very nicely sculpted. We have the pirate ship there. We have Tinkerbell, which I'm sure for a lot of people, Tinkerbell alone is worth the price of admission. But we do have Peter and the kids. We have Big Ben, which is, I think, very nicely done. I think they've actually done a really good job of putting Big Ben onto the key. I think it's maybe not the best, but it's, I think, one of the better thought out ones. It doesn't... Some of them look like they kind of maybe struggled to fit theming, especially when you get to the actual body of the key. The head's fine, and of course the teeth are always the 50th anniversary logo. But I feel like this is one of the best uses of this real estate right here with Big Ben. And it's just coincidental, I guess, that Big Ben is a big straight object that fits onto a narrow straight object very nicely. But it's definitely a nice key. I don't know if it's the best one, but it's definitely one of the better ones. Not that any of them have been bad. And I feel other than Big Ben here, we don't have that plasticky issue. Big Ben looks a little plasticky, but the rest looks decent. It doesn't... Maybe because there's so many different colors and there's so much detail, and they don't all have so much detail. That makes it look a little less plasticky to me. I don't know how it looks on camera, and I don't know how it looks to you. But if I can flip it over. Oh, just you may notice here if there's a little damage here on the front, but I think it's just in the plastic wrap. If we were to take that off, I don't think it would be there. I guess these are actually like cardboard boxes, aren't they? The boxes feel and sound really plasticky to me. There's probably plastic inside reinforcing them or something. But here's the words. Let's read the words. All you need is faith, trust, and a little bit of pixie dust. Prepare to soar across the London skies and off to Neverland. Peter Pan's Flight attraction is an opening day attraction, making its debut at the Magic Kingdom Park at Walt Disney World Resort in 1971. It gives guests the feeling of traveling to a faraway place where you can stay young forever. Yeah, I feel like that's going to be very similar to what it says on Minnie Mouse's tag there. But yeah, this was $29.99, and again, the keys are like the only thing that are selling out from this collection really fast. Even the ears don't. I think even the ears for this collection were still available. And of course, those were like the impossible to get thing in the Minnie Mouse main attraction. I guess because they weren't doing keys like this just yet. All right, moving on to bigger and not necessarily better. With the ears. Now, my wife has already said she doesn't particularly care for these ones. We haven't taken out the package yet, so we can't take them that close of a look at it. But I do see we have a return to our tiki bird or tiki room idea of putting a hat in the middle. Well, sure, they did that in Pirates too, and I think that worked to pretty good effect. And on this one, I know some people comment online, and I commented myself. I don't know if I did it in the video or not, but I know I've commented myself before about the fact that the collection is blue and not green when Peter Pan's kind of signature color is green. And I realize there's probably a couple reasons for that. Not only did Minnie Mouse come out in blue, and therefore you would want this collection to match that, but let's be honest, Peter Pan's shade of green is not exactly the most pleasing color to look at, and I don't know if you'd want to see a plush decked out in that much green if it wasn't Peter Pan himself. But we do have here, we have the sailing ship and a feather, but we've gone, this time, instead of like a felt feather or a realistic feather, we've gone with a faux leather feather, which is interesting. There's no real uniformity in how they handle feathers in these collections. But honestly, yeah, it's kind of plain. Just kind of some night sky going on here, the ship flying across it. I get what they're doing. It's simple and effective, and I'm not loving this hat. So this time the brim is not meant to be squished down. That is just from shipping. You just want to straighten that out a little bit. It is better centered than the Tiki Room one, so I'm hoping that maybe it'll sit better. The brim doesn't want to sit right. Maybe you could steam that out. I don't know. I don't think I'm just really going to wear these, but if you want to display it on a wall or something, that's kind of a problem. We have Peter Pan's Flight written in the fancy Fantasyland font. We have the big CVS receipt. We have the Walt Disney World 50th. All the things that you expect to find on these here are here. And they're just kind of plain this time. Not a lot of creativity went into this one. I guess all the creativity went into the key, and they didn't have anything left over this. So I don't like. So got that pinching again here. I didn't like that in some of the past ones. I don't think it's as pronounced on this as it has been on some of these, but it is definitely back, and it hasn't been there, I think, for the last couple collections. And I think I'm not loving the hat really in general. Yeah, it's like a Three Musketeers hat is what it looks like to me. But the brim, they have it, loose here at the ends so it can sit in front of the ears. So you can straighten the brim out, which is not a bad design idea. The reality of it is, though, it's gotten a little warped in shipping, and it doesn't really want to sit straight because we have this kind of curve stuck into it here. And it just doesn't, if I put it straight, this all flops down. And if I put this straight, then that flops down, and you could finesse this for putting it on display or something. It's just, I'm finding it to be kind of a pain to deal with here. But, I mean, it's a competent set of ears, but definitely not the best in the series so far. I don't know if it's the worst, but it might be. Something has to come in last place, right? I might as well get it over with halfway through. At least I hope we're getting it over with. I hope we don't have anything kind of less creative and more fiddly than this coming down the road. The artwork on the ship is nice. I mean, there's nothing bad about it. It's just not, I don't feel it is up to the standards that have so far been displayed in this collection, but it's the weakest part of this collection so far. We haven't looked at the plush yet, but I can't imagine the plush will be worse than this. So I guess we should just put this off to the side and check out the plush. Okay, so I definitely will say that the hat does fit better on the head here than the Tiki Room one did. The Tiki Room one, the hat was kind of pushed forward so far that it didn't want to, the headband didn't want to sit flush on the head, and it kind of just pushed it off. This time they definitely don't have that issue. I think my wife may be right that was a production issue on the ears that we received for Tiki Room, that the hat wasn't supposed to be quite at that angle. And that's, I mean, this was supposed to look like on your head, on a head. And see, I mean, that still bothers me, but it does sit better. And it's just kind of plain, but we're going to move on from that to the main attraction of today's main attraction. And that is Mickey Mouse himself. And let's get him out of his protective baggie, still all wrapped in paper. Get him on a stand so we can put him up next to Minnie and see what we think of him. And here he is, out of the bag, all set up. I want to say, first and foremost, of the 6 that they've released so far, well, I guess 5, because we still don't have Mad Hatter. We still haven't got Mad Hatter. So the 5 that we've really looked at so far, he is the most fiddly to put together. His coat just does not want to cooperate or sit right. It rides up in the back. The collar doesn't sit right. And as we're on the plush, or the pin rather, he looks, fairly dapper. Here it looks like he's wearing a raincoat. It looks like he's wearing a rain slicker, and it's not, I mean, this looks like he's kind of like dressed like a posh dandy sort of a fellow with maybe a trilby on. And here he looks like he's just in his wet weather gear. There is that little ruff is here, or like one piece of it, as we're he's clearly got 2 layers on the pin. If there's a second, I guess there's a second layer like tucked up under his chin here. Let's get a little closer look. There is a second layer of ruffle there, but it's like his mouth covers it. They could have done like that layer longer so this stuck out a little more, so it could stick out in front of the jacket the way the pin does. Similar issue with the hat that we have on the ears, in that it just does not want to find a nice level. Again, maybe a little steaming or something. You could tweak that out. I'm probably too close to the camera for you to see what I'm doing with the brim of the hat, aren't I? We do have our pirate ship and feather motif returning from the ears here. And we've not, instead of going with a leather ear on this one, we've gone, or ear, feather, we've gone with the kind of silk screen coated felt again, which is probably, better for a plush anyways, because it's not going to get this like bent and creased as easily as faux leather would. So let's look at them next to each other. So color matching. The dark on her, the blue on her dress is definitely a little bit darker than on his jacket. His jacket almost has, to my eyes, looks almost like it's meshed, like I should be able to see through it. I can't, but I feel like I should be able to see my finger there. It's just, I think it's just the way. I think it's because there's a layer. There is a layer of mesh. Okay, that's actually kind of nice. I like that. I like the idea anyways. So there's this layer of mesh with the stars on it, and the blue silky kind of fabric behind it is separate. So this is all like a 2-layer clothing. I like what they were going for. I don't think it necessarily worked, but I like what they were going for. They were kind of trying to do like this, where they had the layer of stars, because they are very similar stars, if not exactly the same, over the night sky of the dress. They're going for that here too, but as where this has, you know, London on it, we have Big Ben, we have Peter Pan and the kids, we have a skyline all the way around her dress, which again, I'm probably too close to the camera for you to actually see, because I think it's all like below frame, but here we go. So we have this kind of, got London Bridge there. We've got this skyline, of the city all the way around. On this, we just have just some clouds. Yeah, not super creative there. It's a nice looking plush. On a shelf, I think he's gonna look fine, you know, from a distance. He's just not as impressive looking, I think, as Minnie. He's got some little stripy trousers here, basic Mickey shoes. The color matching on the skin, he's a little brighter than she is. Now that's, you know, she's 2 years old. Maybe this fabric has darkened a little with age. I think we've had that issue with some of the other Mickey Mouse, the main attraction, versus Minnie Mouse, the main attraction plush, where the skins have been just a little off. And maybe this is what color her skin was 2 years ago. Or maybe this is just the closest color match they could get. The dark blue matches, I think, pretty well. They both have these stars on their left ear. And he's a little dark. His are a little darker, I guess, looking at it that way. What do you think? I mean, his blue's a little darker. Again, that could just be age. But the hat. Let's talk about the hat. So, on here, I commented, it looks like it could be a trilby or a fedora. You got that little like kind of indent in the middle like you have on those kinds of hats. And here it looks like he's wearing a bucket hat. Again, it looks just like wet weather gear. I don't want to move the camera around too much, so I'll move him around. It's like a rain hat. And of course, do the Disney 50th on the ear. I like the kind of dandy look here. He looks kind of posh, like, you know, like the kids in Peter Pan come from, you know, a little, I guess they weren't super posh, where they haven't seen Peter Pan in a long time. But I feel he looks kind of posh on the pin, and he looks, again, like he's just maybe going out for serving a fish and chips on a rainy London night. Also, I just wish this jacket would sit well. I feel like he's going to be a challenge if we end up displaying him, and since she actually is normally on display, I feel like there's a fairly good chance he will go with her since they're a pair. I feel like he's going to give my wife a significant amount of challenge to make him look right. Because he doesn't. This is definitely a situation where I think the Minnie Mouse version is well superior to Mickey. I don't know that there's just any really saving him. I mean, maybe if the yellow cuffs were a little narrower, I mean, we can't see how wide that cuff really is because it's going behind his back. So, I mean, it could be that wide, but he looks better as a pin than a plush this time. The plush, I'm a little disappointed in the plush. The plush of the ear is not great this collection. The pin, competent as always. The key, definitely the best part of this collection. I don't know if I'd say it's the best in the series so far of the 6 we've had, but it's definitely a lot of the creativity in this collection went into this key, into making this key look really, really nice. If I can get it without glare, there we go. But it's in the collection now. Interesting, I just noticed this. In the Minnie Mouse version, I went ahead and gave her a blue mouth and tongue to match the rest. Mickey's got a more of a standardized red mouth and tongue, like you'd expect from someone who's not a corpse you've just found in the snow. So that's interesting. I have to look back at some of these other Mickeys and see if they did that with the other mouths. If, like, she had a mouth that matched her color scheme and he has a normal mouth. Or what because this is the first time I've noticed it. They may have done it in all the other ones. I'll look at the pictures I've taken. But this is the first time I've actually noticed it. Maybe because it's also blue and there's just like the shock of red right in the middle of all of it. That's missing from her. He's a little more colorful now. He's got much bigger yellow gold accents. Hers are much more subdued. But yeah, he does have a tail. I don't think it's been an issue with the Mickeys. With the whole thing with the Minnies is that I think one Minnie didn't have a tail. I don't think it was this one. Let's double check. And nope, yeah, she has a tail. But there we are. We're halfway through this collection now. Of course, we're still waiting for the Mad Hatter plush, but we are halfway through Mickey Mouse, the main attraction, and we're well over halfway through the year now, being the end of July. But I guess we've caught up to the rest of the world now, so that's a thing. Everybody's behind now, so I guess if everybody's behind, nobody's behind, right? Although you keep putting what month these are supposed to be on the pins, so that does highlight that we're now actually only 1 month behind. So, I mean, behind is behind, but we're certainly a lot more caught up than we were at the start. Anyways, that's all I have to say about this collection. This video has gone on probably well longer than it needed to. I hope you found it all interesting and entertaining. Let me know in the comments below if you think this is the best key from the collection so far. Let me also know who you think looks better here, Minnie or our brand new Mickey. You know my opinion. I'd like to know yours. I do thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.